Welcome to another episode of Something Witchy, a Sabrina the Teenage Witch rewatch podcast. I am Laura Cotter.
And I'm Skye Orchard.
We're so glad to have you listening with us today. All right, Skye, you ready for your question of the episode?
Let's do it.
If you could magically become an expert at any sport, what sport would it be? I say this knowing we're not necessarily the most sporty inclined people out there.
Hey.
You're more so than I am.
I've done my share of sports.
Okay, expert, and also your physical ailments would not be an impediment to doing the sport.
I'm klutzy occasionally.
I mean, like, you're not going to break your back doing it.
Thank goodness. Once was enough.
I'm going to protect your back.
I think at the moment, I would like to be better at cycling, not like Lance Armstrong. Steroid cycling. I've done like a race around Bear Lake before, which is like 50 miles. It's just hard. I need to be better at like hills. Yes, I realize your feet look very creepy post bicycling, but I think it could be fun to actually be competitive.
Wait, why do your feet look creepy post bicycling? What happens to them?
It's sort of the same as post like marathon running and whatnot.
Oh, yes, because all the marathons I have run, I can relate to that. Like, no, what happens to, like, do they get swollen or blistery or?
They sort of look sort of emancipated and like your veins stick out.
Do you mean emaciated?
I sure did. Legs become very like emaciated, not emancipated. I'm sure your legs would like to be emancipated after having to go through that with you.
Your legs just walk away.
And you could Google it.
No, I'm good. I don't want that in my search history. Thank you, though.
Yeah, your feet definitely and legs definitely take a toll after something like a grand tour or whatnot.
Well, that sounds fun.
Obviously, because we're saying I won't get injured by being a grand expert, I can skip that part.
There you go.
What about you?
I was debating on this, even as I was like thinking of the question to myself. I think I'm going to go with figure skater, though. Always my favorite Olympic thing to watch as a kid. I'm not coordinated enough. I took like children's beginning figure skating lessons when I was I want to say 10th grader. Me and my best friend did it as part of an honors English assignment where we just had to go do something, try something new, and then we had to write a report on it. And so it was two 16-year-olds in a class of like 5-year-olds. It was amazing. I had a great time. I enjoyed it. That is the extent of my figure skating knowledge. Christy Yamaguchi was my favorite figure skater. I still have a snow globe of her in it from like the 96 Olympics or something like that. Love it. I just think it's pretty.
I like to think I'd give most sports a good old-fashioned try at least once, but skate-related sports are sort of terrifying because you have blades on your feet, and as an accident-prone person, I just imagine the worst.
But if you're instantly an expert at it, but also, like, if we're going down, you're instantly an expert at it, hockey would be really fun.
That's true. So many fights. Allowed fights. I can punch people because I want to.
Back in the day, my sister and I, we had the original Nintendo. One of the games we had was like a hockey game. All we would do was just get in fights on the ice with each other. We wouldn't even try to score goals. We would just start fights on the ice.
Amazing.
It was awesome. This is season 1, episode 10. Episode title is Sweet and Sour Victory. Our TV guide description: Sabrina casts a spell on herself to become an instant kung fu master. It originally aired November 29th, 1996, directed by Robbie Benson, who, if you remember, is Beast from Beauty and the Beast and also plays Sabrina's dad. So our writers are Sam O'Neill and Neil Bushell. I could only find like a picture for one of them. I can only find like a date of birth and location for one of them. They have written on almost everything the same. And Neil and Sam O'Neill and Neil Bushell are both spelled the same. I'm not saying they're the same person, but...
So really it's just 3 raccoons in a trench coat.
Or 6 raccoons in 2 trench coats. Yeah, their IMDb credits like lined up. There were a couple differences, but it seems like these 2 people are a duo.
Maybe they're codependent and they can't work on other things without their emotional support buddy writer.
We have a few guest stars. Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa plays Tai Wei Sei. You may know him from Mortal Kombat series, Tekken series, Man in High Castle, or one of my favorite Disney Channel movies, Johnny Tsunami. Did you ever see Johnny Tsunami, Skye?
I feel like I did. Can I remember it?
Oh.
No.
No, I don't remember anything about the plot. No, I do remember as one of my favorite ones.
Add it to the movie list.
We also have Robert Dorfman as Gustav. He was in Boardwalk Empire, Mad About You, and Sybil. And then we have Vian Hong as the trophy. He was in This Is Us. I don't know what this is, but it sounds fun. And he was in a lot of episodes of it. Gadget and the Gadget Teenies.
Ooh.
ER and Blue Bloods. All right. Overall thoughts, feelings.
So. Yep.
Silence, a so, and a yup.
I like the idea of becoming a master of a sport. I like the idea of we're showing, there is a power disparity and, moral compass while using this power you have over people. All that jazz. Like it. Support that there. I think a lot of times we can say that this show is a product of the time, which, yes, it is the 90s. However, I do think they could have approached this in a better way. You do have the idiom sweet sour that was used in England in like the 1500s. However, you can clearly tell that this title is titled that because it's about Kung Fu, which...
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Is grody in and of itself there. Don't know how I personally feel about, one of our only Asian descendant actors in this episode being the antagonist as well. It's a lot. So I'm not saying we have to hate this episode, but I think we do have to give space to acknowledge that they could have done better.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I will say Sabrina's more the villain in this episode, though. The episode does recognize her as the villain, like, from the get-go, and she is deciding between win or lose, and she picks win. Like, everybody recognizes she made a terrible, terrible choice. It also just felt, based on other things we have seen, other episodes we have seen that have been, like, clearly very well done, it seemed a little cheaper to me. Like, they didn't invest as heavily into this episode. It didn't seem to have quite as much of the flair that we've seen in some of the better done episodes. It was just, at least they did get actually actors of Asian descent and not try to get somebody else in it. It was interesting. It was an episode. Is it the worst episode we've watched? No. Do you think this is worse than Rudy Kazooie?
They're different levels. Rudy Kazooie is just nightmare fuel for me. Whereas this is just, it's not worse, it's just a little bit disappointing.
Yeah. All right, let's start with our cold open. So Sabrina is serving a badminton birdie to Harvey with little success. She tries again and misses it completely. One more try and she actually flings the racket over the net, hitting Harvey. She asks if she gets any points for that. I actually loved badminton in gym class. It was like the one thing I got really excited about. And now I'm wondering because I would have done that like 5 years after this came out. And so I'm wondering if I love badminton because I remember seeing Sabrina.
Were you good at badminton?
I was not terrible for doing it for like a week in gym class. Like I could hit the birdie more often than not, I will say.
I've just given up on the racket sports. My depth perception, it's like, no, I'll watch, but
that's
I'm good. Holy crap, did the props department have a heyday just putting as many birdies on that gym as possible. I've never seen that many birdies in a space, even on like sporting goods stores. Like a little excessive, but we get the point.
She had a full box of them on a stool next to her.
Because you can't pick up the ones surrounding your feet.
That psychopathic gym teacher was like, we're going to give these kids boxes of birdies. You would have to hate yourself to be like, I'm going to spend 3 hours after school is over just picking up all of these birdies and finding them all over this gym room. Like, come on. Also, did you ever know anybody who actually wore uniforms in gym class that didn't have uniforms throughout the rest of their day?
No, I'd never had a uniform.
I don't know if this is like an Eastern US thing, but that's definitely not. I've never heard of that happening unless it was like kids also had uniforms in their day-to-day wear as well.
East Coast public school peoples.
If you went to high school in the East Coast and you had a uniform, please email us at somethingwhatyoupod@gmail.com and send us pictures of your gym class uniforms.
Yes, please.
So we get into our outfit intro, and another kind of bummer, it's the exact same as the Dream Date outfit intro. It's the 60s outfit, so we're not going to spend time on that. We start in science class. Mr. Poole is asking them what bone is made out of while standing in front of a chalkboard with calcium written across it in big letters. There is silence from the class. He gets frustrated, saying he just told them 5 minutes ago that it was calcium. Don't they listen? They do manage to hear the bell ring, and he assigns some homework on their way out. Sabrina hangs back to tell Mr. Poole her bone knowledge that she was withholding, and I didn't copy that down because she was talking way too fast.
It's calcium sulfate, blah, 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 blah.
Something about fluoride. I didn't feel like rewatching that 5 times.
Missed opportunity to plug in milk again, since this episode loves milk so much.
This episode?
This show loves its milk plugs so much, and we all know, because it got drilled in our head, that milk supposedly gives us strong bones.
Maybe Sabrina was sponsored by Big Milk. Big Dairy. Mr. Poole asks Sabrina why she didn't raise her hand, to which she replies, "It's never enough for you, is it?" As Sabrina walks out of the classroom, Harvey comes flying from around the corner in a high kick. Sabrina is confused. Harvey is excited because he just found out they're offering Kung Fu as a PE elective. Sabrina asks, what about badminton? Badminton can't register his hands as deadly weapons. Sabrina says he told her she should register her racket. He says that's because she needs to learn how to hold on to it. PE isn't as easy for Sabrina because she's not a jock. She doesn't have a ton of trophies like him, as they're standing in front of the trophy case. Harvey counters saying 18 isn't a ton. Besides, it's not a big deal. Trophies are just a symbol of superiority and greatness. Sabrina thinks she'll take basketball so she can read on the bench, but Harvey was hoping she'd take Kung Fu with him. Really? She does a hi-ya and elbows Harvey in the stomach. This is clearly a Thanksgiving episode, FYI, because there is a Thanksgiving pictures on the bulletin board outside Mr. Poole's classroom. There's a Happy Thanksgiving sign above the trophy cabinet and next to it. And then there's another Thanksgiving picture on the teacher's lounge door. So happy Thanksgiving. Here's your Kung Fu episode.
A little late in the school semester to be adding a new elective.
Maybe they're on a quarter system, or maybe they're on a trimester system. Maybe their second trimester is about to start up. Hilda is playing her violin and conjures a round of applause with flowers being thrown. Zelda comes in holding an empty vase, telling Hilda that they're on their last vase. Is there a difference between vase and vase? Is it just that I am uncultured, so I say vase?
Could be our Utah area dialect there, or just Zelda being hoity-toity.
Well, according to Merriam-Webster, it's all fine. According to Miss Manners, a vase is a vase when it's filled with daisies, which is another way of saying never. You didn't find that funny. I found that funny. Anyway, so they're on their last vase. Hilda says she needs all the encouragement she can get for her audition. Zelda throws the last roses out of the vase. There. Hilda says she has to beat Gustav von Hegel for first chair. Sabrina comes in the front door and remarks on the pretty roses on the floor. Hilda tells her they're from her loyal but imaginary fans. Sabrina tells the aunts that Harvey asked her to take Kung Fu with him and asks them to sign her permission slip. Hilda tells Zelda to do it as she needs to protect her hands.
There was a comment about Hilda loving that piece ever since Mozart released it. Have we established that Hilda met Mozart? Am I just assuming she knows Mozart?
Let me look at my notes. No, I don't think we have established that yet.
I just assume at this point that aunts probably know everyone on a personal level.
Sabrina and Harvey sit in a gym room with some soft music playing and a man in black martial arts uniform with his back to the class doing some slow movements. The man quickly jumps around and it's Mr. Poole. And the kid sitting next to Harvey and Sabrina is shook. That background actor, he took his note to look surprised and he ran with it.
I'm assuming this is the only way Mr. Poole can make more money to supplement his teacher's salary.
He's not getting the same rate for washing the principal's car anymore, right?
That's true. Now he has to be the stereotypical teacher and coach.
I mean, he's honestly lucky if he gets paid extra to coach, because I know a lot of teachers out there do not. It's just part of their...
I always assumed they got paid.
I think it depends on the school and it depends on the administration, but I think some of them, it's just like, this is part of your job, have fun.
Gross.
Teachers are underpaid. Pay them more.
Pay your teachers.
Mr. Poole is their Sifu and will be teaching them. Sabrina and Harvey are surprised. Harvey can't believe Mr. Poole knows Kung Fu. Sabrina can. Think about how much he must have been beat up as a kid. Mr. Poole starts with teaching them how to bow and then moves on to breathing exercises. Harvey laughs. This is easier than badminton. Sabrina glares at him. Not that badminton's easy, he adds. The scene flips and Mr. Poole asks for a volunteer. Just like in science class, no one raises their hand. Sabrina decides to give ageless wisdom a shot. Mr. Poole says they'll demonstrate the philosophy of the river and the rock. Sabrina offers to be the rock because nothing can move the rock. Mr. Poole laughs. Western thinking. They start with a bow, then Mr. Poole moves and pushes Sabrina over. Sabrina is upset. He tripped her. The river tripped her. river always beats the rock because the river has great inner strength. Maybe the rock has great inner strength too, but didn't have a chance to use it. Mr. Poole counters with, the rock is slow and heavy. Well, the river's all wet. The rock wants a rematch. The river is game. Harvey has no idea what they're talking about. Mr. Poole and Sabrina bow again, and this time Sabrina zaps herself. She is then able to move out of the way when Mr. Poole comes towards her. He tries again, but she managed to grab his arm and flip him. The class claps. Mr. Poole is stunned and tells the class he was showing them the proper way to fall. Mr. Poole asks Sabrina to do 2 out of 3. This time, he starts with a jump and a yell. Sabrina does her own yell and flips across the map, then flips back again. Harvey didn't know Sabrina could do that. Mr. Poole looks worried. They circle each other for a moment, then Mr. Poole starts to attack, but Sabrina dodges him. Sabrina counters by rapidly punching Mr. Poole in the stomach. He groans and falls to the floor. He manages to get back up, but Sabrina jumps and kicks him in the shoulder. He falls to the floor again. She runs over and jumps, landing with her feet to either side of his body and her hand close to his throat. He begs, "No mas, no mas," and the class cheers.
You noticed that there was the circle of students on the ground, and then there were these poor students relegated to the back wall, not allowed to sit. It was an interesting choice.
Maybe they're not actually there for that club or that elective. Maybe they're there for something else and they were just decided to peek in and watch what was happening. I don't know. Also, why in a martial arts course where we have kind of established that Mr. Poole has some knowledge of the culture, is he saying no mas in Spanish to tell her to stop?
Yeah.
Why is he saying no mas anyway? Like, why wouldn't he say no more or I give up or mercy? Why go to the Spanish no mas?
I mean, why for a lot of this episode?
I will say that the stunt doubles in this scene did a decent job with not being too obviously stunt doubles. They did good with shooting them. Back home, Sabrina and Hilda are walking towards the front door. Hilda tells Sabrina she can't open it. Her hands. Sabrina sees it's Mr. Poole through the glass and tells Hilda to duck. He presses his face up against the glass to see if anybody is home. The scene flips, and Mr. Poole is sitting on the couch with Zelda and Hilda, telling them about Kung Fu class when Sabrina interrupts them. Sabrina reluctantly tells them, but okay, sorry, I need to interrupt myself. The seating arrangement. Hilda and Zelda are sitting on Mr. Poole on the couch with him in the middle of them, and Sabrina is sitting by herself on a chair. Had this been my parents, I would be sitting with my parents on the sofa between them, and the teacher would be sitting on the chair. It was just an interesting seating arrangement.
I had a note that at least Zelda and Mr. Poole weren't flirting this episode, but maybe this was Zelda's insistence.
Yeah, it was weird. I know blocking and all that stuff, and they did it to get the shot. It was just weird. That's not how you would sit with your niece's teacher. Sabrina reluctantly tells them that she kicked Mr. Poole's butt. Zelda is shocked. Mr. Poole says it's okay. He's never seen such natural gifts. He asks Sabrina if she's interested in glory. There's a competition in Boston next week, and he thinks she has potential to make waves in the river. Zelda says they're getting ahead of themselves. Sabrina has only had one class in public school. She can't be ready for a competition. Sabrina assures her that she's ready and offers to flip Mr. Poole again. Hilda says yes, but Mr. Poole declines. The aunts allow Sabrina to make the choice. She's going. Mr. Poole is going to fill out some paperwork, then get a CAT scan to make sure the ringing in his ears is no big deal. He leaves, and Sabrina lets out a woohoo! She found her sport. She's a jock. And then she trips going up the stairs. Zelda is suspicious. She smells a rat. Salem is interested, but wait, he had rat for lunch. Sabrina is practicing her moves in her mirror. Then she saps herself a proper outfit and continues punching in the air, which apparently her belt is tied on the wrong side. I know nothing about Kung Fu or any martial arts. I was reading something on the internet from the Sabrina fandom wiki, and that's what it said. She says to herself, cute and deadly. There is a knock on her door, and she flips over the room to answer it. It's the aunts in Salem asking to come in and talk. They ask if her natural gifts are truly natural or if they are supernatural. Hilda says they're just asking, not accusing. Sabrina gladly admits that she used magic, and then the aunts start yelling at her. Sabrina doesn't understand. She thought they wanted her to use her magic more. They do, but not when she competes against mortals. It gives her an unfair advantage. That's why Hilda has been practicing so hard. She wants to win first share because of her talent. But Sabrina doesn't have talent. She stinks at sports. Zelda asks if she's tried something easy like badminton, and Sabrina glares at her. She asks if the aunts are telling her she can't do this. They are telling her to follow her conscience and use her moral compass. Or she can borrow Hilda's. Hilda conjures a large compass with right on the top and wrong on the bottom. Sabrina holds it and is smug because the arrow points to right, but then it falls and points to wrong. She asks how accurate it is. Zelda and Hilda leave Sabrina alone to think about it. Sabrina complains to Salem that she has no idea what to do. He tells her to consider the pros and cons. If she uses her magic, she wins. Without it, she loses. Win, lose, win, lose. She's going with win. So before we get into the competition, this is where I need to talk about the sets. Normally, this show has gone above and beyond in its set design. This is clearly the gym we were in earlier, which was clearly the cafeteria.
I noticed that as well.
And that's where I was kind of like, all right, they're not putting their best foot forward on this one. We're just getting through this episode all together. Also, I have just been talking by myself for a while.
You're welcome.
Neither one of us have notes on this, so enjoy this episode where it's mostly my voice, folks. On the day where I don't have a really strong voice. It's a great episode for me. So we're at the competition. We see some experts fighting on the mat, kicking and flipping. Sabrina looks on nervously. Some of those guys look really big. Mr. Poole wishes they had trained more beyond the breathing exercises, but Sabrina says she'll be fine. She has her inner strength. Mr. Poole looks shocked as he sees someone on the mat. Sabrina knows him. He was the bad guy in the movie Dragon Killer. Mr. Poole says his name is Tai Wei-sei, and he's a great fighter with a colossal chi. Sabrina asks if she'll be fighting him, but Mr. Poole assures her that's only if she wins all 3 matches. Sabrina starts her breathing exercises and chants, "Focus and concentrate," to herself while warming up. Harvey walks up behind her and gets hit in the gut on accident. Sabrina is happy that he made it. Harvey is amazed by the progress she's made in 2 days. He wants to say something to her that he wishes his dad would say to him before a game. "It doesn't matter if you win or lose, you're still a winner to me." Sabrina is touched. The gong rings. Does a gong ring? The gong sounds?
Vibrates?
Vibrates?
Trying to see if okay. They technically ring by vibration is what a gong does. The gong is hit.
And Sabrina excuses herself to go kick some butt.
Maybe I heard it wrong. Did Harvey say that it was what he wishes his dad said? I thought he said that is what his dad said, and I was like, given what we've learned about his dad, I don't think his dad would ever say that.
No, it's what he wishes his dad would say to him, which is also sad.
But he has 18 trophies, apparently.
Do we think Harvey has daddy issues?
Oh, probably.
Sabrina starts her first match and zaps herself with magic as she bows. She kicks her opponent's legs out from under them. And this is where I was like, I am not detailing these fights. We're just going to get through this. A montage starts of Sabrina and Tai Wei-sei both easily winning their matches. Then we see Tai looking at the trophies, and Sabrina pops up behind him, repeating lines from his movie. Tai asks her if she's ready to get it over with. Sabrina thought they were supposed to spar verbally first, but that's only in the movies. He flips across the mat, and Sabrina follows, landing on the bench beside Mr. Poole, and asks him to get her an icy. The opponents bow to each other and start fighting. Sabrina manages to dodge every attack, but so does Tai. They grab a hold of each other and start turning on the mat. Sabrina manages to toss him off the mat, and he goes spinning across the room. Sabrina celebrates, Mr. Poole declares her the winner, and Harvey cheers in the crowd. Sabrina is handed the trophy, and she asks if it's real gold.
I love that Harvey says, "Way to go," and then tells the person next to him that he eats lunch with her. That's all that their relationship is eating lunch with each other. Also, what kind of icy girl do you think Sabrina is? Blue raspberry, cherry, Coca-Cola?
I'm going with cherry.
I could see her doing a swirl of blue raspberry and cherry.
I've never done that. Is that good?
Yeah, I mean, it's all pure sugar at the end of the day, right?
The stunt doubles in this scene the stunt double for Sabrina was not as well hidden. There were a couple points where you did see her face and you're like, that's not Sabrina.
I do feel like the cinematography went a little extreme. Like, yes, this is kung fu, but like the close-ups on her face with her like Hia face or just like her "I'm so good at this" face, they were a very jarring way to film this episode at times. Overused.
Yes. Sabrina is taking Polaroids of herself and her trophy in her room. It's such a great trophy. It says first and has a little gold guy on top, and it comes up past her knee. Sabrina realizes she can retire now because she got the one trophy that she wanted. She's not greedy. Salem is glad it all worked out, but tells her to now go to sleep. Sabrina gets in one last trophy, and heads to bed. She turns out her lights, minus her many lava lamps, and there are a total of 4 lamps in this room that I counted. There's 2 lava lamps, a table lamp, and a floor lamp over by her window.
I'm so proud of you because I know last week I was so hyper focusing on the lava lamps and then I completely missed them this week.
There may be more on the other side of the room. I only noticed is it stage right? The audience right?
No, stage right is the actor's right.
So my right, the audience right, was the half of her room that we saw. Like I saw a little bit of the left-hand side over by her closet, not enough that I really checked it out. So there may be more lamps in this room that I missed. So she turns out her lights and then hears someone say, "Cheater." Sabrina gets back up, turns on the light, and asks Salem what he said. It wasn't him. It came from over by the trophy. Sabrina inspects the trophy and the guy on the top says, "Cheater! My trophy!" she exclaims. Sabrina asks her trophy if it said something. It calls her a cheater again. She didn't deserve to win it. She used magic. She's a cheater. Salem defends her, and the trophy starts arguing with him, both threatening each other. Sabrina asks if they can discuss it in the morning. The trophy says sure, but it's not going to shut up tonight. Sabrina goes downstairs with the trophy in her hand while it still says cheater. Sabrina tells it to be quiet because her ants are asleep. It starts yelling even louder. Sabrina holds the head underwater, but it still says cheater. Sabrina gets mad and starts banging it against the counter. The ants come running down asking if everything is okay. And those ants have on way too much makeup for having been asleep. And at first I was like, oh, at least they try to make Hilda's hair look like less done up. And then I realized it's the hair she has in the next few scenes. So they did not.
Maybe they just automatically cast magic to do their makeup every time they get out of bed.
Maybe they just have like a permanent makeup spell.
Get tattooing when you have magic.
But Sabrina says her trophy won't shut up. The ants are confused. Her trophy keeps calling her names and she doesn't know what's happening. Zelda takes it she decided to compete in the Kung Fu competition. Yeah, and she won. Cheater, adds the trophy. Zelda says the trophy is speaking for her guilty conscience. Sabrina says they told her to choose for herself, and she chose wrong, says the trophy. Sabrina wants to know how to get it to stop talking. Hilda tells her she can put a tiny sock in its mouth, or she can clear her conscience. Sabrina has a better idea. She puts the trophy in the freezer. Her aunts look at her judgmentally. But that's where she was planning to keep it.
For a knee-high trophy, that is an impressively deep freezer.
Do you think the freezer is bigger on the inside like the TARDIS?
Ooh, I like it. Also, it's clearly night. The competition was during the day. They just didn't notice she traveled to Boston and was gone all day and are just barely being like, oh, you did the Kung Fu?
To be fair, it was the 90s. As long as you were home by a decent hour at dinner time, nobody really cared. Or maybe they just thought she was at the slicery for a really long time.
Maybe.
Nobody really ever knew where their children were in those days. It costs a lot of money to call on the very expensive cell phones that we had. Sabrina enters science class the next day to cheers, and Harvey bows to her greatness. Not many people could compete the way that she did, and she admits that's true. Mr. Poole asks her where the trophy is. At home in the freezer, with all their other valuables. Harvey asks if she wants to put it in the trophy case, but Sabrina says it's really not that great of a trophy. Mr. Poole disagrees. It comes up to her knee and says she's the best. That might be what it says to them, but that's not what it says to her.
I like the other valuables in the freezer, and this could just be my brain because, ice for your bling. And so you're putting your ice in the freezer.
What is the song Ice Ice Baby about?
It's about stealing the beat from Queen and David Bowie for Under Pressure, which is the superior song. Fight me. Anyone.
I'm not saying it's not.
No, just anyone listening. If you think Ice Ice Baby is better than Under Pressure, we will go at it like Salem in that trophy.
Hilda is at her audition, and Gustav comes in asking what she's doing there. She's auditioning for first chair, same as him. He laughs. She never plays the same as him, which was a really good burn. And Gustav pulls out a Stradivarius. The other job he beat her out for paid him well enough to buy it, and the case. Side note, most professional violinists that are like really, really high level are loaned historical Stradivarius or other expensive violins, so they don't have to pay for them. He's not going to beat Hilda this time. He thinks he will. He mocks her as he stands with his hand on the door frame. Hilda starts to zap the door to slam on his hand, but then stops it. Gustav tells her to give up. There's nothing she can do. But oh yes, there is. He bends down to get something out of his case, and Hilda conjures an anvil over his head. Is she going to cry like a little baby? She gets rid of the anvil. No, she's not going to cry. She's going to go in there and play like she's never played before. Gustav remarks, that would be an excellent idea. Hilda starts to point again, but instead messes up his hair before going into her audition.
Definitely gonna impact him.
There's lightning and thunder. Hilda storms into the kitchen, pointing her finger, causing more thunder and lightning. Zelda takes it that the audition didn't go well. Gustav got first chair and Hilda got second. Zelda apologizes and asks if she should notify the weather service. Hilda zaps one more round of lightning and thunder, but now it's out of her system. Sabrina comes into the kitchen saying she's ready to do the right thing. Hilda did the right thing. Sabrina asks how her audition went. Hilda repeats, she did the right thing. Sabrina asks if she got first chair. Hilda did not, but she tried her hardest, and second chair is even better than first chair if you think about it over and over until words lose all meaning. Sabrina has already decided to give back the trophy. She opens up the freezer to find the trophy shivering and still saying cheater through chattering teeth. Sabrina was going to run it under hot water, but now it gets nothing. Taiwei is on the phone with his agent. He's tired of playing the ninja assassin. He just wants to play the dad on a phone commercial. Sabrina comes into his office. He probably doesn't remember her. Yeah, so many little blonde girls kick his butt, he can't keep them straight. Sabrina tries to give him back the trophy. He tells her to keep it. The trophy will be happier here. She puts it on his shelf. See, surrounded by his little friends. She tries to run off, but Tai stops her. He can't keep it, even though it comes up past his knee. He hasn't earned it. It would be meaningless. He can only accept it if he won it honorably in a rematch. Sabrina has to fight him again? But they already did that. How about they play foosball? There is no honor in foosball. Mr. Poole is grading papers, marking answers as wrong. Sabrina comes in asking if they can talk. Of course, his little dragon killer. Sabrina has agreed to a rematch. Mr. Poole is thrilled, except Sabrina needs him to train her. Really train her. She forgot how to fight. We see a montage of them doing slow movements on a grassy lawn, followed by kicks, jumps, and finishes with Sabrina finally breaking a board with her hands.
What is the extent of this time period that this montage is taking, do you think?
I'm going with maybe a day, maybe 2 days. It is a short montage. I think there was a few hours of training, and they were like, well, that's all we can do. Best of luck.
I mean, impressive. You can break a board after 1 to 2 hours, given Sabrina's athletic skill.
Because they have to go back to the same competition. And what's the likelihood that the competition's maybe there's different categories, so maybe they have it rented out for a couple more days. It has to be fast.
I just messaged everyone. Rematch at the Boston Stadium. Be there or be square.
At this place that is definitely not a cafeteria from another set.
Not at all.
They're at the rematch and Sabrina's freaking out, saying she lost her chi. Where is it? Have you seen it? Mr. Poole stops her. He doesn't know what made her lose her confidence, but she needs to get it back really soon. Sabrina starts doing her focus and concentrate routine from the first match, and Harvey gets hit in the stomach yet again. He wishes her good luck. Taiwei comes in looking intimidating in a white outfit. Sabrina goes to meet him on the mat, and she compliments his shirt. He responds by ripping the sleeves off. They bow to each other, and Sabrina resists the temptation to zap herself. Tai starts flipping back across the mat again. Sabrina does a couple of really bad somersaults.
That's about how well I could do a somersault, I'd say.
Been many a year since I've done a somersault, but it probably looks similar. Then she tries to punch him in the stomach, but he has no reaction. She decides to try legs instead and gets a running start to try and kick him, but misses and falls to the ground. She asks Tai to come down so she can ask him a question. She wants to know if there's an honorable way to beg for mercy, but it's not time for mercy yet. She tries another punch that he blocks and then pushes her down. She asks, how about now? He stands behind her as she sits on the ground. She approached the match with honor, and now they'll end it that way. She closes her eyes and braces for a hit. He pulls back his arm, but instead he pats her on the head. Her knee-high trophy is his. Mr. Poole asks if she's okay. She bruised her chi, but her conscience is clear. She goes to say goodbye to the trophy. She's not a cheater anymore. The trophy knows. It blows a raspberry and calls her a loser. She's not going to miss it one bit. Sabrina is back home and shows Zelda that the moral compass is pointing to right. She did the right thing. She feels sore but good. Sabrina wants to Hilda, but she's at the symphony playing second chair. Sabrina and Zelda wish she had beaten Gustav, but what can you do? Cut to Hilda at the symphony. She zaps Gustav away and moves over to the first chair spot, causing all the other violinists to move. Which I loved how they were just
They were eager to move. They were like, yes, promotion.
That third chair person who just slipped right into Hilda's empty second chair,
The guy from the second row was real excited to get to move up to the first row.
Our end tag. Hilda and Zelda come into Sabrina's room. They have something for her. It's a small trophy. It comes up to her ankle. It says, World's Greatest Niece. Sabrina earned it fair and square. Hilda notices something around Sabrina's neck. It's a gold medal. Zelda asks where she got it. Carrie Strug gave it to me? Homework time. Do you want me to go on a tangent about Carrie Strug?
Why not?
Okay, so Carrie Strug is a gymnast. She was part of the Magnificent Seven 1996 Summer Olympics team. She is so amazing. She, however, was part of the group of gymnasts who trained under some not great people, the Curlies, Marta and Bella. It's come out that these people were really quite abusive. Do you remember the Larry Nassar scandal that came out?
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of reckonings happening with the gymnastics world.
He was employed by these people basically at their camp, at their ranch. Carrie Strug did her first vault, landed poorly, and was visibly limping. They did not need Carrie to do a second vault to win. She had already solidified gold for the US, but she didn't know that. So she asked Bella, her coach, if she needs to do it again. And he tells her, you have to go one more time. We need you to go one more time for the gold. You have to do it better. So on her injured foot, she limps to the end of the runway, makes her second attempt, lands the vault on both feet, almost immediately, like lifting up her injured foot, salutes, and then collapses and needs assistance getting off. She ended up going to the hospital, getting treated for a 3rd-degree lateral sprain and tendon damage. Like, this poor girl, the abuse she was put under, and none of us really, like, they knew kind of at the time, but it was really swept under the rugs. You know, if you weren't part of the gymnastics community, if you didn't have this, if you didn't really know, you didn't know what she was dealing with these coaches. Yeah, so Carrie Strug is an amazing gymnast, dealt a terrible hand. Had she not done the second vault, it could have potentially not been as bad of an injury, and she could have then maybe done the all-around competition. Because she was too injured, she couldn't do it.
God, Sabrina, you're a dick for taking that medal from Carrie.
I mean, let's see her. So if it was, this would have been after the Atlanta gymnastics, because that would have been earlier in 96. That would have been in July of 96, and this came out in November. Not great. But yes, Carrie Strug, amazing gymnast, dealt a crappy hand, dealt with some crappy coaches. Amazing woman, though.
To wrap up this episode, we have Cauldron Watch.
Yes, Cauldron Watch.
We do see the cauldron on the desk briefly.
Okay.
There is a pair of pink scissors in it, and now it looks like there's something fluffy and green also sticking out, and still a ridiculous amount of pens, and still a waste of space.
Is the fluffy green thing not like a fuzzy pen, like a pen with a fuzzy thing on the top?
It could have been. I kept with Paramount.
Oh.
The part where it showed the cauldron was, of course, where it was programmed to also pop up with the skip to the next episode or watch credits, so I could not actually pause on that frame to do an in-depth analysis. I just literally had to repeat the last, 20 seconds over and over again for about 6 times to determine what was in there still. Thanks, Paramount. Anyways, Cauldron Watch. Gotta love the episode at least ending with our beloved Cauldron Watch.
It was what it was. It was very 1996. Our next episode, though, I don't want to oversell it. It's season 1, episode 11, A Girl and Her Cat. And I will say that it is a Christmas episode.
Christmas episode? So, Salem is the ultimate Ebenezer Scrooge based on his world domination past, and we're going to find out all about that and finally get a moment for Salem. And if that's the case, I am very excited. If that's not the case, we will see.
I think you'll like it. It's a very Salem heavy episode. We get a cool guest star. That was originally why I was like, I need somebody to do a podcast with me about this show, because we need to talk about the insanity of getting these kind of guest stars within this first season.
Ooh, foreshadowing. So come back next week, y'all, to find out who that guest star is.
I don't know. I think I'm overly excited about it, but we'll see. Like, share, rate, subscribe this podcast. Let us know how we're doing. Email us at somethingwhatshepod@gmail.com if you wore a uniform for gym class, if you know how to tie your belt appropriately for Kung Fu, or you just want to send us pictures of your cats, we'll take that too. You can also follow us on Instagram at somethingwhatshepod. Until next time,
stay meowgical.